So, today's sermon is about 10 commandments, and let me first share something about a new book. If you remember last time, I shared some books also. So this is a new book from huge Nora Spurgeon. I'm sure you know Nora from her all her spiritual books and all her spiritual knowledge. And this is her husband's testimony, and I found it very interesting. It's on Amazon as an ebook. So they are from the 777 blessing, 1970. So really old-timer, and many interesting topics he's bringing up there. Okay. So the Old Testament. And first, I like to explain. Maybe some of you think, why on earth is Bengt talking about Old Testament? We live in the time after completed Testament. Does anybody remember when the completed Testament ended? Started in 1993, ended year 2000, and 2001 we had the coronation of God. So that's the starting point of Tjungelguk. So we live now in the time of Tjungelguk, even like after the completed Testament. So you see that under the Old Testament I wrote Old Testament, New Testament, completed Testament. And this is really what the sermon is about. Why bringing in the Old Testament? There's a deep reason for that. Okay. So I'll start with a quote from True Father, Sang Myung Moon, from 1984. It is absolutely wrong for Unification Church members to think that we have nothing to do with Christianity. Why is that so? The Old Testament age, national, and New Testament age, world, existed in order to restore true parents. The completed Testament age also exists for the restoration of true parents. The contents of those three ages are the same, restoration of true parents. So that's where we have the connecting point. Same goal. What about the completed Testament age? It is the cosmic level, the time of the desire to receive the true parents even in the spirit world. So like Jesus brought the gospel into the world, a world level. So we have like a world level foundation with Jesus and the 2,000 years from his life on earth. And on the top of that comes the completed Testament age. It's interesting to think about True Father. He started his mission in 1945, but the start of the completed Testament age had to wait until 1993. And he recognized True Mother as his equal. If you remember, 1992 he proclaimed True Mother his equal. So 1993 was the start of the completed Testament age. There's some logic to this time frames. Yeah. So the dimension is different. So if Old Testament was on national Israel level, and Jesus world level, and then we have the cosmic level. We include the spiritual also. You must clearly differentiate from them from one another. Yeah, 84. The book this. So now we go deeper into the Old Testament. So Moses fasted twice for 40 days. The first 40 days, he received the tablets of stone. You see on the left picture there. And that was written by God. It's like sort of miracle of miracles. Like he came down from the mountain and God had written the 10 commandments on the tablets of stone. However that was possible, I cannot explain. But anyway, that's the Bible. And then he came down, and you can see on the right that he's very angry there. He's crushing this first tablet of stone because he was so angry with the people because they made this golden calf. I'm sure you remember this. They worshipped. 40 days was a long time, and they lost faith and made this golden calf to honor. And that was evil in the eyes of Moses and God. So he became really angry when he came down. And he had to fast another 40 days. I have fasted 7 days on water fasting when I joined the church. I did it 2 times. That was a big challenge for me, 7 days on the water. So I cannot even imagine, I cannot even fathom 40 days, and then another 40 days. How can you survive? It's like unbelievable, yeah. So, according to the book of Exodus in the Torah, that's the Old Testament, yeah, and the Jews call also Jewish the Bible, Jewish Bible, the 10 Commandments were revealed to Moses at Mount Sinai, told by Moses to the Israelites in Exodus, and inscribed by the finger of God on 2 tablets of stone. So that was the first one, yeah. And here is, the Word is God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him was life, and the life was the light of man. And the light shines in darkness, and the darkness overcome it not. So we see the importance of the Word, God's Word. So our Hondokia reading, which is reading from True Parents' words, is from True Parents' inspired holy words of God. And the New Testament, the holy words of Jesus, have produced good Christians, and we could say the Western democratic world as a foundation during 2,000 years. And also Old Testament was the tradition based on the Holy Word. So the 10 Commandments received by Moses was directly from God. And I come to, in the end of this presentation, I come to a connection point. You will really see how it connects the Old Testament, New Testament, and completed Testament. Now we go into the detail of the 10 Commandments then. So we could divide them up in 2 segments like this way. So we have 4 vertical, and there are 3 do nots, and 1 do, keep the Sabbath. Have no other gods, have no idols. Idols was like the golden calf. Do not misuse the Lord's name, and keep the Sabbath. And then we have the horizontal between man to man, a woman to woman, a woman to man, and so forth. We have honor your parents, that's 1 to keep. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 do nots. Do not murder, do not commit adultery, do not steal, do not give false testimony, do not covet. Covet means to possess. Yeah. And here's Jesus' words. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is love your neighbor as yourself. And Sun Myung Moon, he always emphasizes live for others, live for others. And here we can see this is included. If we expand a little bit, live for others, that includes God. That also includes my fellow human being. Yeah. So heavenly law and law of attraction, you have probably heard about, makes them love you if you live and love them first. So this is really like live for others, you will receive love. That's the magic. Okay, now I come to, this is a database I've talked about, I think, in the previous sermons. So Alexander Stacey, together with his father in UK, they made a huge database with all of True Father's speeches. So you can ask questions, and then you get a response from the speeches that are in the database. So here's about this 10 Commandments. I put this question: what is the relationship with 10 Commandments? And answer: the relationship between 10 Commandments and divine principle lies in the shared aim to guide human behavior and promote a moral foundation for living in accordance with God's will. The 10 Commandments given in the Bible serve as fundamental ethical guidelines for moral conduct in relationship with God and fellow human beings. They establish a framework of understanding right from wrong, directing believers toward a life of righteousness and divine principles. In the divine principle I have elaborated, that is Sun Myung Moon talking, in God's original ideal for humanity, emphasizing the importance of love, unity, and responsibility. And unity is important. We are called Unification Movement. Unified Family was an old name also. This unification brings the power to expand and to reach out. So unity is very important. And we emphasize that very much in our movement. So make effort to make unity, and there comes a good result. I've also pointed out the essence of the commandments reflects God's desire of humanity, for humanity, to live in harmony. As I mentioned, the commandments are not just rules, but expressions of God's love, guiding us towards our highest potential. Divine principle expands both understanding of these commandments, interpreting them within the broader context of providential history and the goal of restoration. The teachings illustrate how the commandments are fulfilled through the principles of true love as found in the ideal family, unity among nations, and ultimately world peace. So of course you can think today, we have a lot of conflicts in the world, so what does this really mean? It means, in my understanding, that true parents have made a foundation for world peace, and that will come eventually. So we hear a lot about the unification of North and South Korea, and when that happens, the whole world will be unified. That is true Father's promise. Yeah. The unification of Korea is not only the unification of Korea, North and South, but actually unification of mind, body, husband and wife, families, and the whole world. So it will have an effect on the whole spiritual atmosphere of the world. And that's why things happen. So most people think like things happen random. You have an accident, you break a leg, or you have a car accident, or something bad happens to you. Maybe your grandfather dies or something, and they think it's just random. But we believe, I think all religions teach this, that there is like a cause-effect between you make good conditions, you get good results. You make bad conditions, you will pay indemnity. You will get a bad result. So here I'm just repeating about this divine principle concept of sin and the fallen nature. So I think you have seen this before. And Jesus opened up channels by his sacrificing his body. So that door has been open for 2,000 years. But now we come to the cosmic level where all this will be eradicated. It might take a long time, but this is the goal, to remove all this fallen nature and the sins. Okay. So the holy new words of the returning Messiah and his bride, that is the completed testament. And now we have the three holy books, Cheonseong-yeong, Pyeongwag-yeong, Changbom-yeong, which are the foundation for our Hanukkah readings. So most readings come from those nowadays. Here are the three holy books. And in the Bible it says, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. When Christ comes, he will rule them with a rod of iron. This means the truth. And the truth are in these books. The truth is in the word of true parents, both true father and true mother. So that is the concept. Okay, so here's something Carl Jung. Maybe you heard about Carl Jung, and he was lived at the same time as what's his name now in psychology? Freud. Thank you. My mind stops sometimes. So anyway, they were about the same time, and they a little bit split up. So Carl Jung is more towards the spiritual side of things, and Freud is more towards this sexual traumas or sexuality. So Carl Jung, he said this, like, our body, an instrument for the word, has a whole language of its own, pointing to our attitudes, tendencies, and dispositions. It's amazing how little of human experience is actually known. Dreams, he was very much into dreams. Dreams represent your situation in symbolic form, regardless of whether you care or not. Notice them or not. Believe in symbolism, or have any ability to use them. Yeah. The most profound tendency of the psyche is to represent itself. So dreams are important, and we sleep every night, and I think we dream also every night. We don't always remember what we dream, but just when you're waking up in the morning, that's a good time to sort of think back, what did I dream? It's like a sort of borderline between sleep and awake. Healing can mean many things, from mental, spiritual, physical, improved health to the highest healing possible, becoming a divine spirit on par with Jesus Christ. And True Father spoke about 3 generations after the blessing, at least. Jesus does forgive sins, yes, during 2,000 years. Still no sinless mankind have developed since creation. So this is like the dividing point between divine principle and the gospel in the Bible. that every new generation have to receive Jesus as their Savior, while we believe that the blessing puts an end to the original sin. So our children who are born, they are born without original sin. And that is like a new lineage, a new blood lineage. True Father speaks many times about blood lineage, and I thought a lot about this. What is like blood lineage? What does it actually mean? And I have interpreted, this is not divine principle, this is just my thoughts. So Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't allow this blood transfusion. So if they have a sick child, they refuse in the hospital to give this, because the blood is holy for them. So I think that this blood is like a holy concept also, but not in this sense, not in the physical sense, but really like in a spiritual sense. So the fallen blood lineage comes from the fall of man, from Adam and Eve and their fall. And this has to be cut off, and that is what blessing is doing. So it's truly amazing that we can live in this time with a blessing and with the removal of original sin. Not without reason, in normal church marriage, the words are, till death do us part. No marriage until 1960 have been recognized as holy and everlasting after death. Jesus also left the keys to the kingdom of heaven on earth for the second coming of Christ to pick up. So True Father really, he picked up. 1935, he got this mission, and the mission was to pick up where Jesus left off and carry it on. That's what we have experienced. And here's some words. Now we're coming towards the end here. It's good timing. So Young Won Kim, she was the first missionary to USA, came to California in 1959, and she wrote about about the Ten Commandments. When the people were led to the wilderness of Sinai, God called Moses and commanded him to fast and pray for 40 days. Then God gave him the Ten Commandments written on the 2 tablets of stone. God had created man and the world through his word, but it could not be fulfilled because of the fall. Now in carrying out the providence of restoration, God renewed the word. That was the Ten Commandments. Hereafter God carried out his dispensation through this word. In order to receive the word of a new dispensation, the Ten Commandments, Moses had to spend a 40-day period of separation from Satan. These 40 days seemed an exceedingly long period for the people to wait, particularly since Satan is always very active when God is accomplishing a significant dispensation. Here we can remember when Jesus had his 3 main disciples praying with him, and they fell asleep not 1 time, not 2 times, but 3 times. So surely it was not that they were tired, it was like a spiritual forcing them not to fulfill this condition. Therefore, God's front line is Satan's front line as well. So while Moses fasted and prayed for 40 days on the mount, the people who did not know what Moses was doing at that time made a molten calf and worshipped it as their God. Thus they forsook God and united with Satan. That's why Moses was so angry. As Moses came near the camp and saw the calf and the dancing around it, his anger burned hot. And he threw the tablets out of his hands and broke them at the foot of the mountain. God said to Moses, I have seen this people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them. But if you, I will make a great nation. Moses prepared himself again by fasting and praying another 40 days, and received anew the tablets of stone with the word of covenant. The 2 tablets of 10 Commandments represented the restored Adam and Eve, namely Jesus and the Holy Spirit. So here's some quote from 2011. The Old Testament, old promise was not fulfilled. The New Testament, new promise that Jesus would come and marry and have a family and remove the original sin was not fulfilled. Remove the original sin was not fulfilled. This is a sensitive part. If you talk to Christians, you have to explain this very, very clearly. The history of restoration was necessary because parents were chased out of this world. And here's some inspiration I got. So if we have the spirit world to the upper left corner, God through parents, Jesus, saints, spirit world, true fathers in the spirit world now, and through Mother on Earth. And then we have the physical world on the right side. And you know how mobile phones work, right? If you have 2 mobile phones and there's like an antenna with a base station somewhere on a high mountain, then you can get connection here between the 2 sides. So those people work like a relay stations. That is a relay station, taking the signal and bring it down. So Moses, Old Testament, St. Paul, New Testament, and the saints during Christianity, and also we, can have this role of a relay station. So that is really, like true parents, they encourage us to go out and witness to people. So we should be this relay station between the spirit world and the physical world. Many testimonies from the 70s is about this, you could say like a relay station. So there were many profound testimonies, how people had dreams and they listened to workshops, and they became so inspired by this sharing of the truth. So the truth really, you could say, flooded from the spirit world through Father, Jesus, and into this physical world. Yeah. Especially I remember one testimony where Christians saw Jesus' face, and then suddenly the face changes to true Father's face. And then he understood that, same mission, same position. Yeah? So this was very profound and very important for this person to experience. So now comes the summary here. So we have Old Testament, 10 Commandments, faith in a fearful, often fearful God. They feared God's wrath, They feared his punishment. Jesus came with a new covenant, with a love as a foundation, and Jesus as the Messiah. And we have the baptism, the Holy Communion, and the message, love God and a neighbor as yourself. And now we have true parents, completed testament. It's a new covenant. True parents as the Messiahs, plural, and S at the ending. Holy One ceremony, first generation forgiveness of original sin. And then we have blessing, all mankind, and living for others. That's the message. So all new complete testament are now all fulfilled with true parents, and the blessing. And here's now coming to very final slides. So here we can see how 10 commandments in the center have expanded, but they're still connected. It's like with this picture, I really want to show that even today, if we live according to the 10 commandments, we are doing very fine. So even we live in a new age, a new covenant, but we can still have this as a foundation. And same with Christianity. If we receive Jesus in our hearts and we live in love for God and others, we also benefit from that. And now the final big circle there is our time now. The time of Chongelguk. Yeah. Oops, sorry. No, it became too many. That's a nice picture. I don't know if you recognize this girl here. It's someone I know very well. My daughter, Laila. So, yeah, it's nice. He looks happy. Look happy there. This was Las Vegas, 2023. Okay. And now also we have this very important resonance prayer. So this is really a time mark, you could say. Where are we now? 2024. It says 2023. This picture was from there. But now we are in this time of huge meetings in Korea, in our unification movement. And we have this resonance prayer. We really spiritual, can really do things. And we get many, many testimonies every day, Monday to Friday. And I think especially on Fridays, there's very special testimonies. So please join that. And this is the end. Thank you for patience.